Well, I feel like we let them get going a little bit. We kind of blew some transition coverage. We didn't know who we had, and we let up back-to-back transition buckets. And they didn't shoot very well in the second half especially, but they can be a pretty potent offensive team. I mean, I think it was either last year or the year before, they won the Pac-12 tournament, some hangovers from that. And they're not a team that's, they played in the Pac-12, so they weren't going to come in here and be like, oh, gosh, we have a, just be intimidated, right? So I did not want them to get hot and think that their little durable weave action, and they do a lot of flip handoffs for ball screens. And so we just had a little chat about sticking to our fundamentals and wanting to dictate the action. And I think that they responded pretty well to that.
Looked like the freshman in particular really brought a spark there in the second quarter. Is that the
Yeah.
second one that you saw there?
Well, I think that's what was really great about this game is it allowed us to, that second quarter, they gave us a spark, so we kind of kept going with it. And then when we came in, just the feel you get, I was pretty confident in the second half, not overconfident at halftime. I felt they were responding, and I was reminded that the third quarter is usually their best quarter. So we were able to say, hey, when they were at Texas Tech, they had a heck of a third quarter. They lost that one by, I think, 2 or a few points. So I reminded them of that. And then when we got going in the third, they remained cold. And then it just allowed us this game. It might have been sometimes not as fluid or smooth, but we were trying different combinations because the climb gets steeper and steeper. And we need to kind of see who's going to be able to play multiple positions and who complements who well. So today we learned a lot. It may not have always looked like it as fluid offensively, and I just got to believe that pretty soon those shots will be falling.
Coach, it always seems like Lucy's going to get her points, but there's someone else that's going to step up in the game. It's always a different person.
Yeah, and I think that's what kind of makes this year kind of fun. Usually in the past, we've kind of known who the big 2 or 3 were going to be. This one, it needs to be Lucy. Hannah has to make an impact on the game, but it could be Addie, right? It could be Tegan Malini coming off the bench. It could be Taylor McCabe. It could be Strimlow, right? And so I think that's, I'd like to think as we keep getting better and better, is those combinations, it'll be a little bit harder for the scout, because when you have to put about 8 to 9 to 10 people on a scout, and you really want your team to know personnel, that's a little bit trickier at times. And so I'm hopeful that we can keep getting more and more people on the opponent's scouts.
Coach, I think 3 of the last 8 quarters you've allowed 5 points or less now. What are you seeing defensively that just...
Well, I just think we have the emphasis we placed on it, but people, then are buying into the emphasis. But we have people that are pretty good on the ball, right? They're pretty good, whether we're going to go over the ball screens or we're going to go under. They understand the sense of urgency. And so you got 2 players that are pretty good on-ball defenders that can allow you a little bit of, confidence. With the others who maybe aren't as good, you put them on some others, and they can be in a pretty good gap or help defense. So it's allowing us, I think, to really put our best people in the positions I'd like, where sometimes if you're not always great on the ball, you kind of take your pick, right, or who you don't want to be fatigued as much, right, on the offensive end. Here, I think we got 2 to 3 really good on-ball defenders. So, in the competition we played thus far, I really haven't looked at Rhode Island or BYU. I do know who's on our schedule, though. And after that, then we got Tennessee, and you got Iowa State, and you got a huge in-state rivalry of Northern Iowa. So better and better consistent shooters, better athletes. So anything we can get to build that confidence, and I'm liking what I'm seeing, and I think it's because we have a couple more on-ball defenders, that really are showing their strengths at that.
Jen, you shared a moment with Aaliyah before she went in the game, and just what have you seen from her? What did it mean for you to be able to get her into this game before competition does ramp up and just get her first experience?
Well, I really wasn't anticipating getting her in today because I really didn't know, how this game was going to play out. And I knew she was just cleared for full last week. And anybody who's had an injury of any kind, that is a long road home. And then when you get your dream school, right, she signed, and then we had that injury just about a year ago. So it's very emotional to get into the game. And, she had a quiver lip and just was like, she said, Coach, I'm so nervous. And we had a little moment after the game, and, she had a turnover or something. I'm like, hey, look, that's the least of our worries. You got that out. You felt how this Hawkeye family has embraced you. So I think that was one of the cooler moments in my young head coaching career, is just getting to see someone that we're, anytime you get an injury, you're at such a low point, but getting to be part of that high point. I hope Lisa Bluter shared in that too, because, Aaliyah's always been special. And I tell you why that kid's special. She came and she didn't know if Caitlin Clark was going to have be here or not, right? Seems crazy that Caitlin could really have been here, right? But the fact that that kid was like, I want to be part of this. I want to be part of your program. If I'm going to, sit, I'm going to learn from one of the best ever. And if not, I have a pretty good opportunity. And we told her there would probably be someone in the portal. But that just is kind of the selflessness that any and every coach would love.
Coach, what does it mean for you to head into the Thanksgiving week for the tournament in Cancun, starting the season 6-0 in your first year as head coach, and with this group in particular? What does that mean to you?
Well, number one, the flight will be much more enjoyable tomorrow. I did mention that to them. I said, regardless of what role I have, it's very much more fun to fly to a tropical place when you get a win, right? But seriously, I feel forever grateful for all these kids who stuck with us when there was that transition. And they're just working their tails off. And I think you see that. And I think you so want them when you just want Callie to go back to that Northern Illinois game, right, and get over the hump of the colder shooting or whatever. But I think sometimes the beauty of this team is they want it so much they get tighter. So I need to I'm trying to figure out ways to keep them loose and having fun, because the tough sledding is because they so want it for me. I think they want it for each other. They want it for all these fans. And I think the coolest part is that they have found a different way to win, and that is with their defense. And they are believing in it, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to kick people out of the gym here, and that's what's fun about it. Because they can still be like, oh, man, Coach, sorry, I didn't hit those much. And I'm like, hey, you know what? We got another win. Now we're going to keep improving, and, we got everybody in the game, right? So I'm very proud of them for that, and I love them. They're just a really great group.
Kind of curious if you were an opposing coach looking at your team right now, looking at how you guys are playing defensively, but then, the three-point shooting isn't going, how would you view, what you guys could
Well,
be?
I think the more you know us, right? If you look at the numbers, think, oh, we're going to sag, maybe we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But I honestly think, let's take number one, for example, tonight. In the first half, she went 2 for 3. Before coming in the game, she was 2 for 14 or 2 for 16, right? But I was kind of nervous about that, because we said, let's sag, let's make her prove it. But with 5 games, and if that's what you've done, right? And I didn't go back, I just was like, let's just go with what the numbers say. But yes, it's 5 games, but they shoot thousands of shots over the summer, and they were recruited for a reason. So it kind of takes me a little bit, to really trust the numbers. And I'm not always the biggest analytics. I am in some ways, but I go with my gut. I think if someone does sag, it might help us. So go ahead. You know what I mean? I believe in our kids, and I know. If you went and watched his practice yesterday, it was like fire, right? So, I think that's going to be kind of the conundrum for coaches to kind of see. But if they want to, try something like that and, packing it in, I just think, you brought up the question. It's someone new at a different night that does kind of what we need to do to break it open. I think I'd, probably just say prove it for a while. But since I know my team, I'm not concerned. I'm disappointed for them, but I'm not concerned, because I know how hard they work.
Coach, you mentioned using this game as a visual tool to see who you can trust going forward. Is there any players that have caught your eye that when you're kind of on the fence that you're now trusting them a lot?
I wouldn't say maybe on the fence, in the sense I just want to see if their consistency and how they respond to mistakes. And I think that's a thing, like you can look, but it's like, how down do you get? Because a game like this, you can have a turnover, you can make a bad error and taking a shot too early, but then, you're up by 15 or 20, it's why you're in the game. But then when you give them another shot to go in, because when you're in a tight game, right, you don't have time to really, sometimes you just don't get that other extra shot. So I look a lot at, maybe the things that don't show up in the box score. But I like all of our freshmen's mindset. I think that was really, Mulaney hasn't had the shooting yet, but she just kind of goes in there and does her job. We kind of switched her around on a different couple things today. They handled it. But I think Shrimlow, I mean, she just is, she makes things happen. And if she makes a mistake, she's still going to make things happen, right? She just kind of auto-corrects and has a high five and blocks the shot and almost saves it. Those are kind of things that they can kind of help you go over the hump. But I think, I really like how she's coming along.
Thanks, Sharon.
Yep, and thank you. And